Um, our next speaker is Mr. Justin Itugot. He is a licensed professional teacher who gained over 10 years of classroom teaching and school administration experience in different private institutions before devoting his full attention to e-learning. He is the founder and CEO of Cerebro, an edtech startup incubated at the DOST Tomasinong Center of the University of Santo Tomas, which helps solve teachers' workload issues with ready-to-use digital lessons and curriculum-aligned test math. So under his leadership, ang daming napanalo ng recognitions ni Cerebro. So they were winner of the Ogilvy Philippines Brand Camp 4, top 2 in DTI's Venture Pilipinas Startup Pitch competition in 2021. They were the People's Choice Award also. Top 6 e-learning forum Asia 2023. They won the Technology Innovation Award. Top 8 no, in the Arise Plus E Boost Accelerator 2022. Part of top 10 in the PLDT Smart Startup Innovation Challenge. Top 10 in the Startup World Cup Wildfire. Top 10 in Slingshot Venture Pilipinas. Top 12 in Idea Space Acceleration Program. Top 20 in QBO's Rescue Startups versus COVID-19. And there are also the finalists in the Final Pitch Season 8 in Tech Edition. So actually, meron pa mga iba, top 100 in a lot of conferences and startup competitions. They were a nominee in the ASEAN Startup Awards in 2021. And they're a grantee, again, as I mentioned earlier, of the DOST PCI EERD Startup Grant Fund Cycle 3. And ma'am is very proud to have Cerebro as our CPD training partner. So please welcome to talk about how AI now is being used in EdTech, no? So possibly some trends, some tools that you can already use, already available out there. Please welcome Mr. Justin Itugon.
Thank you very much, Miss Jill, for that introduction. So, napakarami ng mga binanggit ni Miss Jill, no, na mga accomplishments. But that's not my personal accomplishments. Those are the accomplishments that we have as a team here at Cerebro. So let me just share my screen with you. So, there. Okay. Yeah. So, first of all, I would like to thank the media educators of Mindanao for being Cerebro's partner since last year in offering continuing professional development programs to its members. And of course, thank you for inviting me to share about my experiences in educational technology, especially about how artificial intelligence affects the education sector and the life of teachers in general. And of course, through activities like this one being organized by MEM, we will be able to encourage more teachers to work on finding solutions to existing problems in the field of education. That's the goal naman eh. That AI will be there as a tool for us to solve existing problems in the education sector. So, as I was introduced already by Miss Jill, but of course, I would also like to introduce myself formally. I'm Justin Itugot, the founder and CEO of Cerebro. And just a brief background for those who are not familiar with Cerebro, we are a digital content provider for schools in the Philippines that provides ready-to-use teaching materials like course presentations, test banks, quizzes, and even the printable modules and worksheets, all on cloud platform that we manage for our partner schools. So teachers like all of you can reduce your workload and save up to 400 hours of preparation time per year. And I would like to begin my short presentation by sharing the following topic objectives, which we shall dwell on over the course of this presentation. We will begin by establishing innovation as a key aspect of an impactful teaching practice. Then we will also be discussing some roadblocks that are emerging in the education industry that potentially affect the innovations being introduced in the teaching and learning process. Kasi even though ang daming innovations natin na ini-introduce, there are still hindrances for us to effectively implement these innovations. And lastly, we will try to demonstrate tech tools that can potentially help our teachers effectively to reduce their workload and help them to teach at their best. And during the course of my presentation, I may also share how we are currently doing this on our end as an educational support service provider at Cerebro, and how we are helping teachers and schools in general, ano, in creating an innovative environment for their respective campuses. Over the previous years, I have been a former professor both at the College of Education and the senior high school level of the University of Perpetual Help System Delta. I see that from the participants. We also have participants from other campuses of the University of Perpetual Help, I think in Laguna. And I'm also an alumnus of the University of Santo Tomas College of Education. And I have handled classroom teaching in various administrative roles for more than 10 years before I decided to give my full attention to my company, Cerebro, which is also in the education space. And right now, I am also closely collaborating with UST's Innovation Center, which we fondly call as the Thomas Ino Center, no? So parang Thomasian Innovation Center, Thomas Ino Center, by providing mentorship to Thomasians who would like to spin off their creative ideas and innovations into actual profitable tech businesses. And just to give you a background, when I was in my early days as a college student, I have already been fascinated by the fact that we were already doing e-learning way before most schools in the Philippines have adopted the use of technology in education. And during our time, our professors would post the learning materials from our class discussions in our online course pages for later access and review purposes. And I was also proud to say that even before the term synchronous and asynchronous classes were invented, we were already uh, doing that through UST's e-learning access program or ELIP, which I think I have looked for in the schools where I worked at after graduating from college. And since UST has made our lives very efficient as a student with all those e-learning stuff and all, I was so disappointed that there was almost no trace of e-learning all in the first school where I worked at as a teacher. So that time I was very idealistic, and so just like what I think any young teacher would do, I tried to make my own. At first, I started using all the free services that I can see on the internet, but I realized that these are not enough for what I need. I wanted to create something. I wanted to create a platform that will not only be beneficial to me alone, but to the whole school where I was working at that time. And so I remember myself walking towards the uh, office of the school directress, knocking on the door and asking our school head if she can allow me to access the school's physical web server and create an e-learning platform for the whole school. Actually, I was able to convince her, and I managed to have access to the school's web server. But now, I still have one problem left. I have no idea how to do it at all. Because my college degree was Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in religious education. So my specialization is about all things related to prayer and not in any way related to technology, computer science, or programming at all. And all I had that time was the guts to ask, but I did not have the knowledge on how to do it yet. And again, just like what any young and idealistic teacher I think would do, I knew that I needed to do my own research. I have spent a number of days without sleep just to figure out how to do it. And I'm telling you, YouTube tutorials were not yet a thing that time. There were no Indian YouTubers that I can watch explaining the things that I wanted to do. So I had to go to various websites that have very long text, speaking a lot of jargon words that I never knew existed before. And lo and behold, in less than a month's time, the school's e-learning platform was already up and running. And since then, many of my co-teachers have started using the platform that I created for their classes as well. But I also noticed that while many of my co-teachers were using it for their classes already, their use eventually slowed down, and in the end, they started returning to how they were doing things traditionally. And upon evaluating what could have happened, I realized that one of the main reasons why teachers and schools are not using e-learning platforms is not just because they're afraid of using technology or they just do not know how to use computers or any software for that matter because diba, everyone has their own laptop, diba? They use personal computers already, so they know how to use computers, they know how to use the software. But it's because e-learning platforms will require teachers to create digital versions of their teaching materials apart from the physical visual aids and materials that they are already using inside the classroom. Because in reality, traditional teacher can discuss an entire lesson with only a whiteboard marker on his or her hand. But when they are asked to upload their resources in an e-learning platform, they will have to create a digital version through a PowerPoint presentation or a PDF file or maybe produce a handout out of it. And this is just an additional burden for teachers that they think they can no longer handle at all. So, over a year ago, I was invited to sit as a panel member for the technical working group on educational technology for digital Pilipinas, which is an initiative of the private sector to support uh, the government and to find opportunities for collaboration in digitizing industries here in the Philippines with the goal of making our economy more competitive through innovation and making us at par, no, with other developing countries. And during our panel discussion, the issue on setbacks about teachers rejecting the use of technology was raised. And it was mentioned that people usually think that teachers are afraid of using technology merely because they are not used to it. But we know that it was only partially true. Well, it might be true that some teachers are afraid of using technology because they have limited or no experience at all about using these types of devices. But due to the fact that more teachers are now familiar with gadgets like mobile phones, laptops, many of these teachers are not actually afraid, but they are just hesitant because they think that they will only increase their workload even more since they will have to prepare separate sets of teaching materials for online classes and for face-to-face classes. So let me read an excerpt from what I have mentioned that time. Teachers were initially wary of how technology will increase their teaching workload. There is a need to revisit the processes to provide continuous support to our educators in such a way that technology will help bring out their passion for teaching. Imagine, there are some schools who would ask their teachers to prepare two different sets of teaching materials, diba? One for online, one for offline classes. Teachers are also required to submit hard copies of all the reports that they are doing, even though these reports are already available in digital format or what we call the soft copy. Some teachers are still required to write the grades of their students in report cards by hand and even in students' permanent records, even if these grades have been computed using a computer and can easily be printed out or even reducing the possibility of having errors. I know you're familiar with the process of grade reading, di ba? So i-compute mo yung grade sa Excel, then what you will do next is you will print it, then write it by hand sa report card, by hand dun sa permanent record ng mga estudyante, Form 137. Then, you will look for a partner na teacher para babasahin yung pinrint mo sa Excel and yung sinulat niyang handwritten. No? Tingnan kung parehas, no? Babasahin isa-isa. So we call that the grade reading process. When in fact, we can just print it out and submit whatever is printed out, no? Probably we lack policies that allow that. Pero ibig sabihin nito, dahil dito, maraming teachers, especially 4 or 5 years ago, who reject the use of technology not because they're afraid of it, but because it's just additional burden for them. Eh kung from the start, they just wrote everything by hand, they don't have to duplicate things pa. So yun yung mindset nila. So let's take this user story for example. This is teacher Anna, a grade school faculty member in a medium-sized private school handling 8 classes with 50 students each. However, these classes are not of the same subject since teachers in the elementary level are usually expected to teach students in several learning areas, which could also be different from their field of specialization. And maybe you will agree that your teacher in grade 1 in mathematics was also your teacher for science, English, araling panlipunan, and even for physical education. And I can also remember my first year of teaching when my principal asked me to teach cooking subject under technology and livelihood education, TLE, no, for high school students. And imagine teaching about cooking when I do not know how to cook anything at all. And yes, you might also have experienced the outcome, no, or expected, no, kung kayo napagturo na ng cooking na hindi kayo marunong magluto, alam na natin ano yung outcome niyan, 'di ba? I was the first one in the class to have hot oil splash over my face. So cooking oil 'yon. Ako yung pinakaunang natilamsikan ng mantika doon sa buong klase because mas marunong pang magluto yung mga estudyante kaysa sa akin. Because that was not my field of specialization. But because of the lack of teachers in private schools, I was assigned to handle that. So because of these instances that teachers are being asked to do more than what they can handle and to teach more than what they specialize in, teachers like teacher Anna needs to do an extensive research about the subjects assigned to them so they could prepare their instructional materials well while also allocating time for their other administrative duties such as computing grades, preparing reports, and the like. And based on existing data, a teacher spends at least 2 hours per day for these tasks, which sums up to around 400 hours of preparation time for the entire school year. And this problem also becomes a pain point for school administrators after seeing a great number of teachers who are resigning from their jobs each year. And studies also note that such heavy workload of teachers has a significant effect on the quality of education yielding low scores in standardized exams. And if you remember that the Philippines ranked 78 out of the 78 countries who took the program for international student assessment or PISA in 2018 and 77 out of 81 countries in 2022. No. Uh, and you know that one of the biggest factors that led to that result is that teachers being overworked and so stressed out that they can no longer deliver their best whenever they are inside the classroom. No? Sa lahat ng mga bansa sa buong mundo, nandun tayo sa dulo ng listahan when it comes to standardized examinations. Kasi nga, pagod na yung mga teacher. Ang dami nilang ginagawa, hindi sila makapag-focus sa actual teaching. And for context, this is exactly the reason why we created Cerebro, which is a courseware that features built-in, ready-made, and easily accessible digital lessons quizzes, test banks, printable modules, and worksheets that are already formatted and based on the existing national curriculum. So teachers do not need to create digital versions of their materials anymore, allowing them to save up to 400 hours of preparation time per year. And unlike other e-learning products that focus on the platform alone, we took it a step further by providing the ready-made teaching and learning materials, which we have carefully designed to align with the standard curriculum, allowing us to gain traction locally. And we have also launched our Learning Tools Interoperability or LTI, which allows us to integrate Cerebro's contents in other compatible platforms. So schools may also opt to retain their existing systems and just integrate our contents to what they already have. And right now, our in-house team has completed more than 4,000 e-learning contents for 129 subjects in the curriculum. And we have achieved 95% alignment with the learning competencies set by the Department of Education. We have also started repurposing our contents for international markets. So teachers from other countries will also benefit from the significant reduction in workload that Cerebro is offering for teachers here in the Philippines. And there are nearly 94 million teachers in the world. And among this number, 32 million are in countries where English is the primary medium of instruction who could benefit from solutions like that of Cerebro. And with our current contents alone, we can already help up to 1.2 million teachers in the Philippines. And we would like to share this innovative way of teaching to those outside the country to achieve a wider impact. Just to share with you, to this date, we have around 30 schools using Cerebro for their e-learning implementation, bringing in a total revenue of more than 500,000 US dollars in the past 3 years. And we are able to help more than 20,000 users in ensuring learning continuity, not only during the pandemic, but even as schools return to face-to-face classes. Since technology has already become a big part of the teaching and learning process. I know you will all agree with that. Kasi hindi lang naman during the pandemic applicable yung online learning or blended learning, even up to now. Diba? A lot of schools in Metro Manila are canceling their classes because of the extreme heat conditions. So they're being forced to shift to synchronous and asynchronous learning. Some of them are using online platforms, some are using modules. And some, even if they still have face-to-face classes, the learning materials are being delivered online to their students. Students are submitting their assignments online, their projects online, their research papers. And based on our impact assessment report, we were able to help each teacher from these schools save an average of 200 US dollars annually for their teaching materials, or roughly 9,000 to 10,000 pesos per teacher per year on the amount spent on lesson preparation, thereby improving their work-life balance by 14% and their overall job satisfaction levels by 25%. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to present to you that technology has a lot of things to offer for teachers, and it's not just something that we should be afraid of. And it's not just something that will increase our workload. Actually, if done properly, if used correctly, it will help us to reduce our workload. And right now, just to share with you also, Cerebro is aiming for a content licensing and franchising agreement with LMS providers so we can maximize and benefit from their market leadership while we also increase their competitive advantage by adding our contents on top of their existing platforms. So right now, our contents are already compatible with at least 5 platforms, such as the open source ones like Moodle, Canvas, Blackboard, and the commercial ones like Neo and Schoology. And we hope to expand the list of compatible platforms by the end of this year. So, for example, if your school is already using Canvas or Blackboard, you don't need to leave these platforms, continue using them, but we can integrate Cerebro's materials on top of these platforms. So you will be able to reduce the time that you spend on lesson preparation. So Miss Jill already mentioned the awards that we received in the past, like those from Seed Stars International, the ASEAN Startup Awards, and the Ideas Space Acceleration Program, and the Philippine Startup Week. And they're also among the startups under Kubo Innovation Hub and UST Tomasino Center. So I'm talking about this because this is how I was able to solve a pain point in education through the startup that I have founded. And it is not only me who is solving a pain point in the education sector. It is not just my story. Based on the Philippine Software Industry Association's startup map released in 2020, there were dozens of edtech startups already who are making an impact in the field of education. And that was 4 years ago. The pandemic has also highlighted the need for more edtech solutions, as there are numerous pain points that hinder students from getting the education that they deserve. And these edtech startups are presenting solutions in a wide range of tech backgrounds, as there are those that integrate blockchain and Web3 in education. There are those that utilize the concept of metaverse. And of course, now with the rise of machine learning, artificial intelligence is also a game-changing factor in the educational technology solutions that are being presented in the market. Now, I know that most of you here today are teachers and you have your own experience of the pain points that we have in the education sector. And since you have a personal experience, you are more than qualified to also find solutions to the problems that you experience yourselves. I'm saying this because basically, I would just like to instill into everyone's minds that innovation does not have to be a big bang event. It is not always true that innovations should be radical and disruptive technologies, but this can come from small solutions that will potentially address a real pain point that people are actually experiencing, that even the smallest change or improvement that we do will have a significant impact on the overall end result of a process. The first point that I would like to raise is that innovation is not always a flying saucer. And what do we mean by that? We need to realize that innovation does not merely refer to vague concepts or ideas, which also has the tendency to have an adverse effect among the users if it is not implemented properly, just like what I have shared with you a while ago, that instead of helping teachers reduce their workload, they found the innovation more time consuming for them. But rather, innovations are concrete actions that we undertake. And no matter how small the step that we make to do that action, that small step is already a progress moving forward. We also hear this, di ba, in Chinese proverbs that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And that is really true up to now. And the process of innovation is just like that. That nevertheless, the main goal of education is to influence our students to think about something, to do something, and to feel something, regardless of whatever topics and academic concepts the curriculum tells us to teach. It will still boil down to the question of whether or not we are able to influence our students and inspire them to develop meaning from what we teach and what we allow them to see. The next point that I would like to discuss is that failure is not something to be afraid of. And remember, a small innovation is better than having no innovation at all. And honestly speaking, it is very hard to innovate without experiencing failures at first. Innovation is a continuous process of building and introducing various iterations or revisions along the process. We always hear people say that there is no harm in trying, and that is very true. We will never see progress if we have not tried it at all. There is no innovation without experimentation, and experimentation is all about learning, diba? Along the process, it helps us make more informed decisions about our ideas, plans, and courses of action. And it allows us to avoid uncertainty and it makes us more proactive about what could potentially happen in the future. And next is that when we fail in small innovations, it allows us to recover easily and get back on our tracks as quickly as possible than doing something big immediately and we also fail big time. And such mini failures that we will be experiencing will be part of our learning journey compared to big failures that could potentially become part of our biggest regrets. So when we try to innovate and do experimentation, we fail in a positive way. Diba? Para kang nasa science laboratory that may pinaghalo ka na hindi dapat paghaluin, di ba, na chemicals at may hindi magandang nangyari, chances are you will not repeat the same failure again. So we fail in a positive way. So when you do it next time, you are doing it more properly, di ba? You are doing it better na. And of course, since in experimentation, the failures are small, we also save money. We are becoming more economical because the innovations that we are doing are easy for us to reach and do. And since there is less effort on our part in doing these innovations and experimentations, we also spend less time and money on this. And what is important is that we are potentially solving a pain point that is not only experienced by ourselves, but also by other people as well. And if we are able to solve that problem for ourselves, we are also solving it for other people, resulting to a better product market fit. And since we are able to improve our product or solution from our personal experience, we will just replicate the success of our product and service in other people. The third point that I would like to raise is that when innovating, it is not necessary that you will be the first one to do it, because the mere fact that you are already trying to explore a new innovation by yourself, it means that the available innovation that is already existing is not able to solve the problem that you are experiencing. Bakit ka pa maghahanap ng iba if the existing innovations are already enough for what you need? So, ibig sabihin, kulang yung existing na solution. That's why you are trying to create your own. And even if you have an idea that is exactly the same as the idea of another person, always remember that ideas are cheap and it is the execution that actually matters. So ngayon, ang dami na nating tools na pwedeng gamitin. Kanina, ang daming pinakita ni Doc Ligot na AI. No? What stops you from innovating inside the classroom? Hindi kailangang bumili ng mga expensive tools or mag-subscribe sa iba't ibang mga products and services. If you have the right tools, if you have the right mindset about experiencing failures and continuing innovation, then there's no problem. In my personal experience, this actually makes a big difference. No? There are other similar products in the market that are trying to solve the same problem that we are trying to solve at Cerebro. But what made us succeed somehow in what we're doing, our competitors are more on people with sales background or IT professionals who are all trying to solve a problem in the education sector. But there is an attribute that we have that our competitors may not have. What's that? We are teachers. I am a teacher myself. 75% of my team are teachers. And there could be no one else who could understand the problem of teachers better than another teacher. We have the first-hand experience of the problem. And somehow we also have a good idea on how we can try solving the problem. Now, you might be wondering that if you are being called to become an innovator, what possible areas of education can you introduce an innovation into? Well, educational innovation does not only refer to using technology inside the classroom, because it is way more than that. There are actually other problems that are being experienced by teachers, students, and schools right now that may need urgent attention and need to be addressed. For the education sector, here are some key issues that have been identified by Digital Filipinas. First is the global ranking of the Philippine education system. The Philippines ranks 78 out of 78 countries, no, dun sa PISA results natin within the last 6 years, and 77th out of 81st, out of 81, 77 out of 81 nitong 2022. And assessments such as those done by PISA provide us with the basis for the improvement of our educational programs. And this can serve as a data-driven evidence that will help us in crafting relevant policies, plans, and programs, including the curriculum for our education sector. Next is the digital infrastructure for online learning. Since the pandemic has changed the traditional learning arrangements among schools and between the teachers and the students, if not for COVID-19, the need for a reliable digital infrastructure and internet connectivity would have been taken for granted by many of us. And distance learning modalities using the internet showed the inadequacy of the country's digital resources and infrastructure as well. And we have also seen the lack of computer systems and basic internet connection. And for some, even mobile devices, ba, in most Filipino households that will allow them to make their digital learning experience worthwhile. Dami pang kulang. No? Kahit na ang dami natin nakikitang solutions around us, marami pa rin kulang. Another thing is the brain drain due to the low salaries of teachers, which refers to the low budget allotments that the government is allocating for the education sector. And when we see the news, yes, it looks like billions or even trillions are being given to the Department of Education. But that is just in Philippine pesos. And we know our money is very weak compared to other countries. And most of the digital resources in infrastructure that we have are in the Philippines, di ba, are being sourced from other foreign countries. So kahit na meron tayong millions, billions in Philippine pesos given to the Department of Education, if, for example, DepEd will choose to implement AI or even ChatGPT in the education sector, ang babayaran naman nila for using the premium version of ChatGPT is in US dollars. So, lugi na naman ang Pilipinas, 'di ba? We don't have enough budget for that. Napakababa ng peso if the bills that we're going to pay for implementing AI in education will be in US dollars. And from here, we can see that the budget that we have for education in the Philippines is considered as one of the lowest budget allocations in ASEAN countries. Actually, this also affects the desire of our teachers to look for opportunities outside of the Philippines because there is a big contrast with the financial incentives that they are receiving here, regardless whether they are in the private or public school sector. And I remember my first year in teaching. No, I was in a private school that time. My salary was just 8,500 pesos per month. But in the public schools that time, di ba, they were receiving around 17,000 pesos. But the entry level job in a call center that time would receive almost the same amount the teachers from the public schools are receiving. But call center agents, no, not to to criticize them. Gusto ko lang makita dito that call center agents are not required to have college degree, a master's degree, and a board exam just to get the professional license to teach. Di ba? Parang doon mo siya compare. And also adding to that is the quality of education, which is also compromised by the low ratio of teachers to students. So I also experienced this myself, that I handled more than 60 students in just a single classroom. And that is in a private school. What more when we look into the public sector? So I'm trying to compare here, no, the budget that we have for the education sector is with the budget that are being given to other industries. Next is the job mismatch for graduates. According to PIDS, or the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, there is a job mismatch as 40% of Filipinos are found to be overqualified in their jobs in 2022. If you go to a supermarket, you might see some hiring posters saying that they're looking for a sales lady or sometimes a promodizer or a cashier who should have at least reached college level. Imagine, they're requiring college education for routine tasks, and the only thing that sets these workers apart from other professionals, such as doctors, nurses, engineers, and even teachers, is just the board exam. And lastly, making education inclusive for all. Because now, with the ASEAN integration or the collaboration between the countries in Southeast Asia, recognizes the transformative role of education within the region that allows us to have a more inclusive mindset, which calls for quality and sustainable development. Because now they are working on standardizing the learning competencies in neighboring countries. So when a person graduates in the Philippines, his or her skills will be applicable in other neighboring countries. And he or she will be qualified to work there. Mm. And of course, with those pain points being said, we can try looking into the following guide questions that will allow us to reflect on what points should we consider in thinking about possible innovations that we can introduce to help improve the overall educational system in our country. Probably we can use AI in determining solutions for this, diba? We can think of questions such as how can we make the country more competitive, especially in the Asia Pacific region, where close integration is being prioritized at the intergovernmental level. How can we promote lifelong learning underpinned by the principles of equity, inclusion, and quality? And how can we make our students or our education in general future ready? How can we empower our educators and education personnel at all levels, basic and higher education, even in technical vocational institutions, diba? How can we empower all of them? How can the business sector and the academe work together to address skills and job mismatch in the country? And whenever we talk about innovations as a way of solving these problems, we always tend to go back to two words. And of course, what's that? That's educational technology. However, despite the abundance of edtech tools here in the Philippines and even abroad, there are still some adverse reactions that we are getting from teachers, students, and even parents about edtech. First, of course, there is the resistance to change, which is a factor that prevents the full implementation of EdTech in our schools and even in other educational institutions. Teachers tend to teach the way they were taught, and if they were not taught using EdTech, they will still tend to teach using without using educational technology, using traditional tools lang, Manila paper, cartolina. Another reaction is about the teacher's very low level of confidence in using technological tools. They're afraid of technology as if it will break if they were not able to use it properly. Teachers who have little or no confidence at all in using devices such as computers, tablets, and the like will try to avoid even getting near to these devices at all. And the issue on connectivity still lingers, which many would say as something that we cannot fully control. And more controversially, the rise of AI poses as a threat for teachers. Ang dami ang tingin sa AI is a threat. But of course, kanina pinresent nga ni Doc Ligot that we should work hand in hand with AI and we should learn how to use it properly. Diba? So AI poses as a threat for some teachers and the teaching learning process in general, as they think AI will not only replace them eventually in their jobs, but that the integrity of personal knowledge may be put into question, since learning will no longer be measured by the amount and depth of information that a student can provide, as this can now be produced easily by generative AI. As for us at Cerebro, we do not see AI as a competitor, even if many believe that we should be concerned since our competitive advantage among other edtech startups is the content that we produce for teachers and schools. And instead of being afraid of how AI can ruin our business, we have actually leveraged on generative AI to speed up the process of our content creation, particularly by using AI to provide structure to the lessons that we create. And of course, AI can generate content and provide the resources for the overall lesson on an end-to-end level. But education does not only cover the cognitive domain. And the affective aspect of education is still something that requires human intervention, even in the contents that we produce. At least in its present form, AI-generated content still lacks the ability to teach emotion among students, as emotion is something that technology has never experienced. But nonetheless, AI is still making a significant mark in making the workload of teachers easier, and it is revolutionary. Teachers and human-made content will still remain relevant despite the surge of AI technology. And in the same way that fire remains essential, even in the age that light bulbs, ignition stoves, and microwave ovens are already invented, AI and humans can coexist and will actually complement each other. Now, I would like to share with you something that we are working on at Cerebro. Kanina kasi may nagtanong din ito sa inyo, di ba, about using AI for lesson planning. And we have recently launched our new product called Cerebro Plus, which is an integrated school management and content library system for schools. And for this product, it is not just the LMS or the learning management system and the ready-made lessons that we offer, but the end-to-end platform for the school's operations, covering student enrollment, online and manual payments, and the generation of transcript of records, report cards, and other reports. On the teacher's portal of Cerebro Plus, so, kasi meron siya iba't ibang portal eh. School admin portal, teachers portal, students portal, and the parents portal. Iba-iba sila ng capabilities. Of course, the sa school admin portal, the admin can manage the entire school, accept payments, generate reports and everything. Uh, Teachers portal, itong ipapakita ko sa inyo ngayon, no, yung isa sa mga capabilities niya. Students portal, of course, view their grades, access their materials, submit assignments, quizzes, communicate with their teachers. Parents portal, they can view their students' grades and, of course, settle the bills or dues of their children. So for the teachers portal, we are integrating a lesson planner powered by AI, where aside from our ready-made contents, they can also generate their own lesson plans with the help of artificial intelligence. We have not officially released this feature yet, but I would like to give you a sneak preview or a quick demo of how it works. Let me uh, share my screen again. I'll share my full. Uh, okay. So this is how it works, no? So when you go to the teacher's portal of Cerebro, there is a thing there called lesson planner, wherein you will just have to input things here from the curriculum guide. So for example, since this is MEM that we have here, let's try something related to media and information literacy. So I'll just have to copy some things that are already available in the curriculum guide. For example, the subject title. So I'll just put the subject title here, media information literacy. Sabi sa curriculum guide, this can be for grade 11 or grade 12. So lagay natin grade 11. Anong topic? So let's take, for example, itong unang topic natin, Introduction to Media and Information Literacy. Content standard, this is already available in the curriculum guide. Kopyahin lang natin. So I'll input the content standard here. For the performance standard, kopyahin lang din natin. Learning competencies, we have 5 learning competencies here. Dagdag lang natin. So it's just copying and pasting. Ayan. Let's copy all 5 and see how AI helps teachers dito sa ginagawa naming project sa Cerebro. Okay, so we're complete, di ba? We have the course title, we have the grade level, the topic, the content standard, performance standard, 5 learning competencies, everything have been lifted from DepEd's curriculum guide, and I will click generate lesson plan. So you can see it's generating now, parang chat GPT, no? Pero it's not just a single text box where you will put the prompt. So meron siyang ano, ah, fields kung saan nyo ilalagay yung mga competencies para mas maintindihan nung AI ano yung gusto mong mangyari. So as you can see, there is there are the details that we inputted. Gumawa na siya ng suggested preliminary activity. So media memory match-up, ano daw kailangang materials, flashcards with media information concepts and their definitions, may significance, ano yung instructions, prepare flashcards with media concepts, assessment questions, no? After the activity, paano mo siya ipaprocess? So, ito yung mga tanong na ibibigay mo sa mga estudyante. Another engaging activity that is suggested, media role play, materials, instructions, divide students into small groups. Assessment questions are here. For the lesson proper, it helps you create an introductory statement for your lesson. So, you will just have to expound on these things that are being presented here. So, meron kang introduction. So, by the way, this particular format is using the 3 I's format, no? Introduction, interaction, integration. So, meron na siyang introductory statement, interaction, since we are promoting student centered learning, so mas maraming activities for the students. And nakalagay dito, KWL chart on MIL concepts. So, draw a KWL chart on the board. Tapos, nandito na rin yung assessment questions. What was one thing you learned today about MIL? How can MIL affect your daily life? Another activity, media literacy group debate, MIL campaign, Then for integration, to sum up everything, Virtual Media Literacy Symposium, which is one of the activities actually required by MIL Curriculum Guide ng DepEd. So contact an MIL expert to serve as a guest speaker, organize Q&A session, encourage students to present their MIL campaigns during the symposium. Then meron na namang mga assessment questions here, no, for processing it. So generalization activity, reflective essay. So all of this, if we look, are all aligned with DepEd's curriculum guide and the learning competencies stated there. Plus, ito mahalaga, meron na tayong post-test. So it will generate a 10-item quiz after generating yung content. So meron na siyang multiple choice test. Bakit multiple choice? Kasi most schools now are preferring multiple choice to prepare the students for taking the board exam in the future. So meron na siyang questions here like what is MIL? Nandito na yung mga choices, pati yung mga distractors natin nandiyan na siya. So 10 items 'yan. Then meron na rin siyang keto correction na generate. So you can either copy the text and paste it sa kung saan nyo man siya gagamitin or just click download. Ano mangyayari pag dinownload natin siya? Tignan natin. So it's currently downloading. Ayan, downloaded na. I will open it in Microsoft Word format. And this is what it downloaded. So naka Microsoft Word format na siya. I-edit nyo na lang siya depende doon sa format ng inyong school. So, di ba, kasi pagka sa ChatGPT, hindi pa siya naka-format na ganito. So, you will just have to download it and reformat it for your school's own template kung meron man. But everything is already there. So, this is how we are doing it right now at Cerebro, na hindi namin tinitingnan ang AI as a competitor to the business. But it is something that can actually help us in achieving our mission of helping teachers teach best or teach better compared to what they are already doing right now. So, let me go back lang doon sa ating mismong discussion. Okay. So, just some key takeaways that I would like to leave with you as I end my sharing. First is that innovation does not always have to be big. There is actually no bad idea at all. And ideas will only turn into bad ideas if they have not been tried at all. Second is that EdTech is a product of a continuous innovation process and that technologies are evolving at the same time that human knowledge is evolving. And what we consider as modern now may no longer be modern in the next few years. And adapting to change is something that we should master and not something that we should fear of. And lastly, artificial intelligence and human intellect are there, complement each other. And AI has a huge potential in making everyone's lives easier and not something that will result to human life and intellect being inferior to technology. So thank you again, Mem, for giving us the opportunity to share about AI tools that we have in the educational technology sector. And I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sir Justin. Wow, I got so excited with that automated teaching guide maker, no? Kasi, yeah, you know, lahat tayo dito, most of us are teachers. Kung meron mang iilan na hindi teachers. Pero number one na problema natin always at the beginning of the school year is we have to, di ba, revise or improve our syllabus, our lesson plans. And that usually takes a lot of our time. Usually we get stuck in it, no? And then, aminin na natin, it's also a skill. Now, what we need to really understand here and always remember that AI will not replace us as teachers. AI will assist us. No, so it will help us do the menial tasks. No, if we have AI tools to help us check standardized tests, create these lessons. But of course, after that document is made, you as the teacher will still have to vet, no? Siyempre, lalagyan mo pa rin yan ng human touch mo, ng teacher touch mo. Hindi mo naman gagamitin lahat ng sinuggest ni AI. You will only choose what is possibly appropriate in your context. So that's where the human teacher comes in. And so now when all of these tasks are automated, made easier for you, then you can really do the actual teaching, which is mentoring, no? Looking after your learners' welfare, knowing about your learners' status. Kasi a lot of us are just so focused on transferring knowledge, but we're not aware of where are our learners at in terms of their mental health, no, in terms of how they're coping with all of the distractions, etc. And I think now we have to look at learning, in that aspect na hindi lang tayo content generators, okay? Because technology can easily do that for us. We're not merely parroting, di ba, the lessons, but we enrich the the content that's already out there. Okay. So let's have this space for questions. I'm sure you're very curious. Um, you can raise your hand if you have some questions, or if you can write them on the chat box. Okay. I have a question while we're waiting for the others. Is it possible, Sir Justin, that we could develop is itong paggawa ng teaching guide, no? Eventually, can this help in aligning all the different subjects to create a more collaborative performance task? Kasi di ba yun yung laging
Yeah.
problema na, oo, can you elaborate on
Nagdo-duplicate
that?
kasi, no? Usually,
Mm-mm.
nagdo-duplicate na kahit na gusto natin na sabihin natin, okay, dapat isa na lang yung project for English, for math, for science. Parang meron na lang silang isang capstone project na lahat ng subjects nandun.
Yes.
Hindi nila ma-figure out how to do it. Di
Yes.
ba? That's a problem. So, with the help of AI, ilagay natin lahat ano yung competencies for math, for science, for English. And sabihan natin, utusan natin yung si ChatGPT na, can you, provide us with a collaborative activity that we can assign to our students, di ba? Following all these competencies that can be finished in 1 week
Mm-mm.
with, for example, a maximum budget of 1,000 pesos only per group. Parang ganon, di
Yes.
ba? So, siya na yung magsasuggest kasi alam niya anong presyo. May access siya kay Shopee, sa lahat, alam niya. Di ba? So, it's something that we can take advantage of. So, hindi lang siya pang-create ng mga essay and everything. Sabi ko nga then in one of the talks that I have had past few months, sabi ko, hindi tayo dapat mag-worry about how AI will provide meaningless na assessments na sa atin kasi 'di ba
Mm-mm.
students can generate essays 'di ba using AI, but what if we ask AI as teachers to generate output based activities or performances, 'di ba?
Mm-mm.
So tulungan niya tayo na mag-organize ng isang for example sa MIL nga kanina ang kailangan na output ay isang symposium. So kapag meron tayong symposium, hindi siya generate ng AI yung gagawin ng mga estudyante doon sa loob ng symposium. You will assign them to different tasks. So that's something that is good with AI. Na mas na-elevate yung creativity din ng teachers sa pag-iisip ko anong klase ng activities yung pwede nilang gawin sa kanilang mga estudyante.
Right, right. There is a question here. Cerebro is internet-based, right? Ano pong ibig
Ah,
sabihin na last question na yan,
baka
sir?
kung online kailangan ng internet
Mm-mm.
si Cerebro. Generally yes. AI na lesson planner because in order for AI to spout the internet for different sources na
Mm-mm.
pagsasama-sama niya dun sa output na ipoproduce niya sa'yo, it needs to be connected with the internet. And kasi kung hindi siya i-connect sa internet, there are some AI tools din naman na that would work offline, but the content library of that AI is not updated. So pwedeng yung mga sasuggest na sa'yo ng mga activities ay luma na, not anymore applicable for the current curriculum and the like. But Cerebro generally is internet-based. It requires the use of an internet to be accessed, pero it does not require a lot of bandwidth. Hindi kailangan na
Mm-mm.
mabilis ng internet connection since anyway, it's just text that we are processing there, 'di ba? Lalo na for the AI lesson planner. But we also have some features at Cerebro that does not require the internet. For example, meron tayong mga ready-made na presentations, no? Itong mga ready-made presentations ng Cerebro are automatically saved on the mobile devices of our students. For example, they are using a mobile phone to access Cerebro for the first time. Tapos, pwedeng automatically na ma-save na agad dun sa device ng student yung lahat ng lessons for the whole quarter or for the whole school year, depende sa kung ano yung sinet ng teachers. Tapos, yun. So, they can go back to the lessons anytime throughout the year nang hindi na nila kailangan ng internet. So, those are some of the options that we have.
Right. I think it's one of the biggest parang question lagi or criticism with any of the internet-based or online tech tools is that how about yung mga walang internet connection ng mga schools, in these regions, all of that? Well, yes, that is a real problem, but we also cannot deny that moving forward, if we want to be competitive, we really have to adopt the technology. So the pressure here should be placed on DepEd, di ba? On our government. So tayo dapat teachers, if you're active in your school, no, we bond together as a network of schools and CSOs, and we lobby to our government that there should be more budget to be put in internet infrastructure para lahat makasakay na dito sa technology na ito. And that's where the pressure should be put, di ba? So wala talaga, oo, reality talaga yan na walang internet in some cases. But pero maganda na may mga solutions naman na offline. Like, I would like to share, no, for example, right now in MEM, meron kami din-develop na online platform, a tool din, no, a web-based app for film literacy. And then the question that was asked on us was, how about yung mga schools na walang internet? Paano nila magagamit yung app? Sabi ko, well, the teacher only has to download the lesson guide from that app, and then that lesson can be delivered offline. So, yes, meron pa rin talagang small aspect wherein you have to log in and then extract all the materials, and then but you can deliver the lesson offline already, so there should really be no constraints. I mean, kung meron mang constraints, pwede natin gawa ng paraan. Right. So meron question, follow up. Is it useful for college ba daw? What do you mean, sir, by which
Oh.
one po is useful
Kasi
for
siguro
college?
baka yung Cerebro in itself, no? Kasi pinaset natin kaninang sample is for senior
Yeah.
high school. But for the ready-made content that we have at Cerebro, we have content even for college, especially for college general education. Now, for other subjects that are not standardized by CHED or DepEd, especially the professional subjects, kasi karamihan naman dyan, teachers yung nagpo-provide ng sarili nilang material, especially for college. So, you can still use the AI lesson planner to generate your lesson for that. Or if you have existing materials, if you have been teaching the same subject for quite some time already, most probably you already have the materials for that. And you can just put it in our system, di ba? Kung masipag ka nga, di ba, ilagay mo lang yung content ng lesson mo from the previous year doon sa lesson planner. So, para i-update niya, di ba? Ang maganda pa nga dito, if you can include doon sa prompt na gagawin mo, yung kung halimbawa nakapag-conduct ka na ng multiple intelligences assessment sa klase mo, 'di ba? So magkakaroon ka na ngayon ng data, ilan yung mga ganitong klase ng learner, musically oriented, 'di ba? So ipasok mo 'yan doon sa AI prompt, so it can help you create differentiated activities for them. And kung tatanungin niyo ako, how will you learn how to do those prompts? Yan yung sinasabi ni Miss Jill na activity ng MEM, no?
Mm-mm.
By May with Doc Rigot, which will focus on prompt engineering. I think,
Yes.
Miss Jill, idugtong ko na rin kasi dito, no? Kasi related din naman yung question na kasunod na it's a feature of Cerebro as an LMS. But if they already have an existing LMS, so actually, hindi naman namin pinipilit, no, na that you use Cerebro here. Actually, kung matututo nga lang kayo na gumawa ng sarili ninyong mga prompt, is you will be able to do this
Yes.
even in ChatGPT,
Yes.
no?
Yes.
Ang kaibahan lang dito sa pino-provide namin is para maging mas madali na kapag gumagamit ka rin naman ng Cerebro, you generate the lesson from it, tapos ma-download mo siya in Microsoft Word format na. But
Mm-mm.
all these things can be done within ChatGPT. Ang inalis lang namin doon is yung pressure doon sa teacher na malaman anong tamang prompt ang kanyang gagamitin. But of course,
Yes.
Mem will be discussing that in the coming weeks.
Right. So, yeah, just to reiterate, no, yung ginawa nila Sir Justin is that you don't need to prompt, copy-paste ka na lang. But if you're gonna use like ChatGPT, doon ka dapat skilled sa pag-prompt. Kasi hindi talaga simple like you just say, create a lesson plan for no. You really have to give, remember, you have to feed the machine, okay? Kasi machine learning, di ba? You have to feed the machine Okay, the everything that it needs to know so it can create the solution that you want, and you can even carry out the conversation. Because I really I also believe in the power of AI, no, ChatGPT, and it should not be something that we stigmatize na nakakahiya na, oh, gumagamit ka. Kasi I'm using it for productivity. And I don't feel insecure because I know that ang binigay lang naman sa akin ni ChatGPT is the material, but in the delivery, ako pa rin yun. 'Di ba? Skill ko pa rin yun as a teacher, speaking to my class, mentoring them, checking if their works are at par. That's where the expertise of the human teacher comes in. Right?
And
Mm-mm.
Miss Jill, 'di ba? Ikaw pa rin yung mismo nag-feed ng information sa
Yes.
kanya.
Yes.
In one of the talks din I had recently, ang tanong diyan ano ba natin siya interpret? So parang it's just the output is the art, but you are still the artist, 'di
Yes.
ba? You're still the one. Kaya nga yung issue kanina, 'di ba, about intellectual property and copyright, even if it's generated by AI, you still own it technically. Kasi even if halimbawa nag-type ka sa Microsoft Word, ang daming autocorrect diyan. Masasabi ba natin that it's already owned by Microsoft Word, yung output? No, it's still you who owns that document, and you're still the artist. And you will still be the one to deliver that, 'di
Right.
ba? So ikaw pa
Mm-mm.
yung magde-deliver. So
Yeah.
hindi siya nakakahiya na we use AI to provide structure for what we do. It helps us to be more efficient, 'di ba? And it helps us to teach better.
Yes. So there's definitely a whole other conversation on the arts, no? Kasi talagang medyo madugo yan, no? Kasi especially artists, they're very sacred sa kanila yung ano eh, you know, the whole process of creating art. So that's something that for now, as is sa ating point of view now as educators trying to make our teaching easier, wala siya sa scope muna ng ating conversation. But yes, it's a conversation that also should be discussed. We can discuss that in your ethics class and all of that. But as you know, as with any technology, ang problema natin sa society natin is that the laws are so they're so late in crafting laws to protect us, the guidelines. So it's really upon us, digital citizens, to agree on the usage, no guidelines, di ba? We should not wait for government to create laws. Tayo na mismo should craft our own policies within schools, within our communities, agree on what will be the limitations on the use of AI without necessarily putting AI in bad light, but also not championing it na to the point na talagang hindi ka na mag-create something on your own, no? So there, it's everything always with a balance.